In this next module, I'm going to tell you about the statistics that we use to describe the variability of data. So there's a number of different statistics that we can use to measure variability. So the simplest is just to look at the range. That tells you about the spread of the data. The most common one that we use is something called the standard deviation that we're going to talk a lot about. We also might talk about the variability or spread of the data in terms of percentiles or something like an interquartile range. So the range is easy because it's just the difference between the largest and smallest observations, but that's very useful information. So for example, when I asked my students about how much homework they did in hours per week, I got a range of anywhere from 0 hours per week all the way up to 40 hours per week. So my range is 40 hours per week. So it's quite a wide range. It gives you a sense that the data is fairly variable here. Moving to the standard deviation. The standard deviation is by far the most common measure of variability that you're going to see in statistics. So I'm going to spend quite some time talking about the standard deviation so you really get a good understanding of it. First of all, however, I'm going to give you a little challenge. And if you want, you can even pause the video and think a little bit through this challenge. My challenge to you is, what if somebody were to ask you to devise a statistic that would give you the average distance from the mean? We want a statistic that tells you what is the average distance of any given observation from the mean. How would you calculate that? How would you come up with a statistic that does that? If you want, pause the video and see if you can think it out. So probably your first instinct on this is to, first of all, you have to think about what's distance from the mean. How would I quantify distance from the mean? So to measure the distance from the mean, what you're going to want to do is subtract an observation's value from the mean value. That will give you a distance. So we can represent that in mathematical symbols as xi, that's any given observation in your data set, minus x bar, that's your mean. So if you take, if the mean in the data set was a mean height of, say, 69 inches, then if somebody was 71 inches, they would be 2 inches above the mean. That would be their distance from the mean. Or if the mean homework that you do per week is 11 hours per week, and if that's the mean, and you happen to be somebody who does 40 hours per week, then you would be 29 hours per week above the mean. That would be your distance. If you only did 0 hours per week, you would be negative 11 hours per week away from the mean. So that would be the distance from the mean. So